But then
Mm-hmm.
also you have to know what courtship ideally is. Could you describe what that,
Sure.
and especially for our audience who are kind of Bible based, we hope we that's what we want. And a lot of
Yes.
this goes over the tops of their heads. Like I didn't know it. Yeah, I still kind of don't know,
Yeah.
So
So a few
let's hear it.
caveats here, ladies and gentlemen. This is natural law, and God created the universe with laws. Okay. We are all subject to this. That's why all cultures have marriage, all cultures have courtship. So this is not just for Christian, Bible, biblical people. Okay. This is for everybody. So when I talk about courtship, we're talking about every human being, man or woman. Okay. Courtship is the vetting process of finding a mate, right? That is it. That's basically what it is. And so we've confused that with dating as Mr. George Ade defined it, which was simply meeting up with people and just being interested and curious about who they were. That's literally what dating was as a culture and how it began. How that happened and how that kind of like inverted courtship was very interesting because prior to dating, you only had courtship. You only had men and women being alone with each other if they were already engaged. And you had men and women spending intimate time with each other when they knew that that person was going to be their husband in a couple of weeks. I mean, that's like basically it. So when people talk about courtship and dating right now, what is actually happening is people have no clue how to vet for a mate and therefore say that courtship is not in the Bible, which it is. Let's go to Genesis and the case of Leah, Rachel, and Jacob. Okay. A lot of people think, oh, the word courtship isn't in the Bible. Of course it's not, because it was in the culture. You can, like, is mating in the Bible? No, it's not in the Bible, but you see lineages and genealogies of people who mated, right? So
Right.
Mr. Eric, I know that some people try to argue about like the word courtship is not in the
Well, it's just a
Bible. It's
semantic.
in the
It's just
culture.
semantic. Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
see it implied, so I mean, we know it
Exactly.
exists.
It exists because it is always how humans have vetted each other, right? So I just want to put that out there that it is biblical because it is human. Okay. So that's one. So the case of Jacob and Rachel, okay? It is said that when Jacob laid his eyes on Rachel, he loved her. What does that mean biologically? Well, when a man and a woman are vetting each other to be potential mates, there has to be that Jacob Rachel sizzle. Okay, that's what I call it. The
Yeah,
Jacob Rachel sizzle. Okay, because he's like, that's the woman that will bear my babies, basically. And then he worked for 10 years. And
that's
that is
good.
essentially a core component of courtship, a man proving that he can support that woman, right? I'm not saying it should take 10 years. Um, in my culture, we have a practice called paninilbihan, which is basically make him work, literally translated, right? And this is a period of time where, a man has to prove to the father of that woman that he is courting that he can support her. And when I was, like studying this, I immediately remembered like the story of Jacob and Rachel in the Bible, because it's all about, this is tribal culture here, like hauling water, plowing the fields. These are all like in pre-colonial times in my country.
Yeah, and Jacob was he
Manual
was
labor.
outrunning his brother Esau. So things
Yeah.
would have been different for him had he, had a good relationship with Esau. I'm sure he probably
Hmm.
could have welcomed her to his father's rich heritage and been like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we got plenty of camels, plenty." But he had nothing.
And
He
So
had
he
wasn't
had to go to
nothing.
work for Leah's
He
yeah,
dad
had to
wasn't
work.
because
it
he had
if
nothing.
Exactly.
because it was like either you worked for the father or you couldn't you like kind of pay a bride price? Wasn't that the other option?
Yeah, bride price. But he
Or
decided
like
to,
Moses saved uh
he saved her by
that
marrying her.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
he saved her at the
Zipporah.
well. He saved her at the well because those guys were trying to get the girls, and then Moses, he saved them, ran them off, and then the father was like, "Yeah, you're a good guy."
Yeah, exactly. So those are examples of courtship, right? Those are examples of like the order of nature coming into like culture. So we have to remember that what happened was we lost all of that. We lost the ideals of courtship, of a man having to prove himself, of a woman simply being, like valuable and valued. That's why you have phrases in the Bible about like wives being worth far beyond rubies. Because in these times, especially in the Middle Eastern culture, the value of a woman was equated to like precious stones. And that's why, you have in that lineage, and actually dowries existed in every lineage, right? They just progressively became obsolete as, people modernized and whatnot.